Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog series. It's Tuesday, July 29th, 2025, and on Tuesdays we talk about music and the arts. And this week's theme for the Dr. J Vlog series is empathy. So yes, we'll be looking at songs today that speak to the issue of empathy. And actually there are a number of different websites, but if you check out Hub Pages, they actually have a list of 145 songs about being there for someone, among other things, or standing by their side, that sort of thing, which obviously fits in with our theme. So I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to check that out. But what I've done, again, is created my sort of personal top 10 favorites list of songs that deal with empathy and compassion. And as I was doing that, before I knew it, I ended up with my top 20 list instead. Okay, so here we go. These are the top 20 songs from the Dr. J perspective that deal with empathy and compassion, being there for someone. And again, these are chosen specifically because of the nature, because of their themes, and because of their resonance in my own life and my experiences at different times as well. So again, your version would obviously be different because you'd be highlighting other songs that speak to you and different experiences that you've had and so on. But again, I'm drawing mainly on popular music and, as I say, things that I've encountered or experienced over the course of my lifetime. So, at number 20, this might surprise some of you, but it's the Black Eyed Peas, Where is the Love? This was actually released over 20 years ago now. It's hard to, where's the time gone? Or where's the love? But yeah, this was released back in 2003. And I didn't know, by the way, I didn't know any of their music at the time. So this was basically my introduction. They'd been around. I guess they formed back in 1995 as Black Eyed Peas. And then they changed it to The Black Eyed Peas in 2003. And it's kind of the opposite of Facebook, right? Which started as the Facebook and then dropped the. Anyway, it's just to me it's a really cool song. It's a powerful social commentary and a mixture of different vocal stylings that they combine, and it gives the song such a rich texture in my view. And it actually went to number 8 in the U.S. on the Billboard Hot 100. So yeah, check that out. I'm not a huge Black Eyed Peas fan, but I like some of their earlier music, and this is one of them for sure. Okay, number 19 is Stand By You. So this is a song by Rachel Platten. She's probably better known. You might know her song Fight Song. This is my fight song, and so on. But I really quite like her voice and the vibe that she gives off in several of her songs, including this one from back in 2015. And plus, she also did a Spanish version the next year, which is kind of cool. So, if you're interested in the Spanish side of it, it's titled Siempre estaré ahí. Siempre estaré ahí, which means always be there, basically. And it features the Argentine singer Diego Torres. So, yeah, but I've included her version, the English version, if you want to check that out if you're not familiar with it. So I think it's a pretty nice song. Number 18 is an oldie but goodie, What the World Needs Now. This was actually written by Hal David and Burt Bacharach back in 1965, but the version, and it's been recorded by countless artists, but the version that still resonates most with me is the Dionne Warwick version from 1966. I've always loved her voice, and that song and her rendition just, again, sort of takes me back to my childhood. And I do remember actually hearing this one on the radio back in the mid-1960s. And I always, of course, really liked the chorus and would sort of sing it in my head, even though I was a young child. And I guess it's just a universal sentiment, no matter what age you are. So, yeah, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. So, check it out if you haven't heard that one in a while. And then at number 17, Try a Little Kindness by Glen Campbell. This is the title and the title track from his 1970 album. He didn't actually write the song, but he claimed that it was one of his favorites, and I can see why. Now, Glen was such an absolute genius as a guitarist and a session musician initially, and then he, of course, struck out on his own as a solo artist. And he's a surprisingly good singer in my view too, or was. He's obviously he's passed on now. And this certainly wasn't his biggest hit, Try a Little Kindness, but it did go to #2 on the country charts and number 23 on the Billboard Hot 100. Anybody recall what his biggest hit was? That is Glen Campbell. A little bit cheesy, perhaps, but it's Rhinestone Cowboy. That one actually did go to #1 on both the country and the Hot 100 back in 1975. But I've left, again, in the links below, a version of Try a Little Kindness. So check that out, if interested. At number 16, some of you will know this. Some of you will be too young, but it's Love Train by the O'Jays. So, and this, again, harkens back to my childhood. It's a 1972 hit by the O'Jays, Love Train. I've always loved the song. Loved it from when I very first, when I heard it for the very first time. The rhythm of the song, the progression within the song, the chordal progression, and then the chorus, of course, just draws you in every time. And then I finally also gradually figured out the lyrics. When I had to listen to it a number of times on the radio and so on. But I thought, even as a 10-year-old or whatever I was, 10, 11 years old, I thought, what a really cool message. And then they were talking about the different countries and so on. So the song, did go all the way to #1. And so, again, this was in 72. And plus, I guess here's my bias. 72 was if I had to pick one year, 72 was my all-time favorite for music. I probably have more songs, more hits, more songs that resonate with me from 1972 than any other single year. So there's that. All right, number 15 is Humble and Kind. It's a song actually written by, some of you may know her, Lori McKenna, and she won Best Grammy for the song and the 59th Annual Grammy Awards. But the version that I know is not Lori McKenna's so much, but it's the one that was released or made by Tim McGraw. And some of you may know Tim McGraw's music, or at least some of his music. I like some of his songs too. Live Like You Were Dying is one of my favorites. But anyway, this song and his version, it's got this really cool music video that goes with it as well. So I've included that in the link below. So check it out. It's really inspiring, I think. So always be humble and kind, or don't forget. And then at number 14 is perhaps, it's a song you probably don't know. Many of you will know the artist. But it makes perfect sense because the song is simply called Empathy, and it's by Alanis Morisette. So this comes in at number 14. It's a somewhat obscure song. It's off of her 2012 album, Havoc and Bright Lights. But I quite like the tune. And it's from a singer that I wasn't quite sure of when I first started hearing her on the radio and so forth back in the 1990s. But I gradually really came to enjoy her and her music. And I guess I love her rather unusual voice. It is a powerful voice. And she's able to use it as an instrument in some very interesting ways, I think. And then she's also produced some remarkably mature lyrics, reflective lyrics as she's progressed in her career. And so, and even from an earlier example, I really like her song "Thank You" too, which is it strikes me as being in a similar vein as Empathy. But again, check out the link below if you haven't listened to this one or heard it before. It's called Empathy by Alanis Morisette. Okay, then at number 13 is a well-known classic, shall we say, Stand By Me, the Ben E. King version of the song. Peaked actually at number 4 back in 1961, before I was born. But then again, it peaked at number 9. It was re-released in 1986, end of 86, beginning of 87, in conjunction with the movie of the same title, Stand By Me. That's a Rob Reiner film. And actually, my wife and I just looked at that one. I hadn't seen that one probably since it came out. But we watched it just a month or two ago. So that was quite enjoyable. Forgotten little gem, shall we say. So again, check out the link below for number 12, Stand By Me. Number 13, Stand By Me by Ben E. King. At number 12 is I'll Be There by the Jackson 5. Yeah, the Jackson 5, or Mariah Carey and others, but Mariah Carey had a hit with it as well. But this one is just etched into my childhood vault of memories. I used to love watching the Jackson 5 when they'd perform on television back in the day. That was quite a treat. And so, yeah, I'll Be There was released in 1970, and it ended up being the Jackson 5's fourth #1 hit in a row. So, yeah. And then, of course, Michael Jackson became the global phenomenon that he was back in his time, or after the Jackson 5, but before he passed, obviously. Yeah, it's been quite a while. He and Farrah Fawcett, I think, died on the same day, if I recall correctly. Anyway, okay, so yeah, but yeah, I'll Be There by the Jackson 5 in at number 12. Number 11 is True Colors by Cyndi Lauper. It was written by Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly, but Cyndi Lauper kind of remade the song, quite impressively, of course. And she, what she did with that song was she turned it into a #1 hit, again, in her kind of own signature style, if you will. And I just think it's such an uplifting and affirmative song. So I had to include this one on the list. Some of you will know or recall that Phil Collins also did a version of it in 1998, which peaked at number 12, but I really do prefer Cyndi's version. So that's what I've included in the link below. Okay, now we are at the top 10. So, in my top 10, well, number 10 might surprise you. It's Count on Me by Bruno Mars. So, yes, I love me some Bruno Mars. Really quite like his music. I find several of his songs quite infectious, shall we say. And this one always gives me a lift, Count on Me. So now with nearly 15 million followers on his own YouTube channel, Peter Gene Hernandez, aka Bruno Mars, from Hawaii, doesn't need me to promote him in the least. But interestingly, this particular song, Count on Me, barely charted in the US, though it did go platinum eventually. So again, if you're not familiar with it, maybe you know obviously some of his other hits, but check this one out, Count on Me. And again, I've included the link below. At number 9, this one's sort of at the other end of the spectrum from Count on Me, from the Bruno Mars song I just mentioned, and it's Hello in There by John Prine. Yeah, it's a pensive song. It's a deeply reflective song about an older couple who are rather lonely now, with the kids being gone and having lost their son Davy in the Korean War, and I still don't know what for. Don't matter anymore. Yeah, it's just really powerful. But the narrator is expressing such deep empathy. And then it concludes the last verse of the song. Prine sings, "So if you're walking down the street sometime and spot some hollow ancient eyes, please don't just pass them by and stare as if you didn't care. Say hello in there. Hello." I play this one often in my live set list, along with his song Angel from Montgomery. Yeah, that's John Prine's song. It's made famous, I guess, perhaps more so by Bonnie Raitt, but nonetheless, Prine was just such a gifted storyteller of Americana with his music, right? I just love his music. I love his stories. And I'm thrilled that I got to actually see him live back in 1986, I believe, at the University of Virginia. So you can't see it, but I'm actually wearing my University of Virginia t-shirt as well. Yeah, and now he's part of Americana too, but kind of for a different reason, because he died on April 7th, 2020. And you may recall that was when COVID struck and really became a thing. And so, yeah, he died of health complications. He'd contracted COVID and died, sadly. More than 1 million other Americans died as well. Tens of thousands of Canadians. So, yeah. But, okay, so, yeah, I've left a link for that song if you want to check it out. Hello in There by John Prine. Number 8 is Lean on Me by Bill Withers. The late, great Bill Withers had a number of hits. This might have been his very biggest, though, topping the chart for 3 weeks as it did back in July of 1972. Again, 72. Favorite year for music. I never got to see Bill Withers play live in person, but I've actually included in the links below a live version of his Lean on Me done at the BBC. And it'll give you a much better sense of what just a great talent that he was musically, and the way he could sing. It's almost effortless. You could see him. It's a somewhat rhythmically complicated song, but the way he pulls it off and with his band is just spectacular just to watch it. So I would have loved to have seen him, but I never got a chance to. Okay. All right, then the number 7 is a very different kind of song, and one that, again, a lot of you probably don't know, but again, it's a personal favorite of mine. And it's called I Will Take Care of You. And it's by Amy Skye. It's just a personal fave from a singer that's probably not too well known, especially outside of Canada, but I quite enjoy her music. I got to see her live when she did her Phenomenal Woman tour back in the day. But this song in particular gets me every single time. I don't hear it that often on the radio, when I'm driving around these days any longer. I do have the CD, etc. But nonetheless, but it's a great song. She's singing. It's a kind of circle of life theme that she covers in this particular song, and it covers 3 generations. But when she sings about turning the tables, and then having to take care of her own hospitalized mother, the one who had taken care of her. And then she uses the same words, if you will, in the song that her mother sang to her. I swear, I still almost shed a tear. It's such a powerful emotion. And then the way the song concludes. Spoiler alert! I won't spoil it. Have a listen if you've never heard the song before. Okay, again, the links in the description below. And then number 6 is an easy one because it's a song everyone knows probably. You've Got a Friend, written by Carole King. She released the song from her iconic Tapestry album, but James Taylor, of course, had a smash hit with the song as well. So I thought I'd leave a link below of the live version that the two of them did together back in 1973. With Carole is just playing the piano, and James, of course, is playing his signature acoustic guitar. But and they have a couple of other band members helping out too, but she doesn't, that is Carole King, she doesn't actually sing in this particular version, shall we say. It's just the silky smooth James Taylor voice, but it was great seeing them play together. Then they played together, off and on over the years, and much later in life, there's as elderly people, they've also played together in concert. So yeah, check them out if you haven't seen them previously. Okay, now we're in our top 5. So in my top 5, I've included a lovely song, mainly because it comes from one of my all-time favorite female singer-songwriters. And the song's called Kind and Generous by Natalie Merchant. She's in my top 5 female singers of all time. I just can't get enough of her beautiful and expressive voice, especially in her prime. She's still singing and performing, of course, but check her out if you haven't seen her or listened to her music previously, either as a solo artist or with her band 10,000 Maniacs back in the 80s and early 90s. So again, I've included a live version of Kind and Generous in the links below so that you can get a real sense of her expressiveness and of her talent. I love watching her sing. I don't care what she sings. She could sing the phone book, her and Karen Carpenter, and I'd still listen to the two of them, right? Okay, and then at number 4, again, pretty much from here on out, you're going to know these songs. But number 4, I've got He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother by the Hollies. What can I say? It's just a classic. Alan Clark sings the lead vocals, actually does the harmonica as well. Love his voice. I love his stylings on this particular song. Little known fun fact, Elton John plays the piano on the studio recording of this song. He was a session musician back in 1969 when this was recorded. So this is before he became a star in his own right. Although he did release, as I recall, I actually bought the album, well, much later, but he released his album Empty Sky, I believe, back in 1969. I've still got it. I should go pull that one out. Anyway, but yeah, he wasn't well known, and he's playing piano on He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. So again, it's a song, when it does come on, and I don't hear it that often, I got to listen to it, right? Okay, and then at number 3, I've got Everybody Hurts by R.E.M. This was an alt-rock band that I really got into back in the early 1980s, before they became kind of big, if you will. And then I just sort of kept following them over the next couple of decades. So Michael Stipe is the main vocalist and lyricist and so on. And his stylings, again, are just exceptional. And while I'm not a huge music video fan, I definitely prefer just to listen to the music. The music videos, that's a whole different art form, if you will. It's something different. But I have to confess, I do have my kind of favorites in that genre too, shall we say. And so the music vid for Everybody Hurts, just an absolute classic. It's one of the best in my view, okay? But regardless of the video, I still just absolutely love this particular song. So much so that I'm afraid to sing it live myself, because I am just, it gets up there a little bit in terms of the range, but I know my voice would crack or I'd screw it up. So, but I really do love the song. I'd love to play it live sometime if I ever get up the courage, shall we say. Courage. All right, and now we've reached number 2, which might strike some of you as a bit of an odd choice, but many of you will know the song. It's Vincent by Don McLean. Sometimes it's referred to by its opening line of Starry, Starry Night, but that's not the name of the song. Starry, Starry Night, of course, actually refers to the Van Gogh painting. And it's Vincent, by the way, this Don McLean song is actually one of my top 10 favorites of any genre. It's one of my top 10 favorite songs, period, in all honesty. Okay. And so I love the lyrics. I love the melody. I love the guitar work. And I don't think I'll ever get tired of listening to the song. And I'm in my 60s. So, and I'm still loving it. And when no hope was left inside on that starry, starry night, you took your life as lovers often do. But I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. And then the closing verse and so on. So yeah, I do play this one quite often as well. I love it. And yeah, check out this live version that I've included from Don McLean when he was younger, when he was in his prime as well. And it's great. And you can see what a talented musician he was as well. He's still around. I got to see him in concert too, many years later. I actually got to see him up here in Canada. Okay, and then finally, another all-time classic is my number 1 choice. And it's my number 1 choice, and regardless of the genre of music almost. It's Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. It's one of the most impactful and important songs that's ever been written, in my view. It has a timeless message of empathy and support that can be interpreted from any number of different perspectives. So Paul Simon actually discusses writing the song on the Dick Cavett show. So he has this interview where Dick Cavett's interviewing him. And I've actually included that in the link below as well, because it's fascinating to watch this shy, introverted Paul Simon, speaking with Dick Cavett and hesitatingly and so on. And then when he asks him to talk about writing Bridge Over the Water and gives him a guitar, he completely changes and he becomes this upbeat, extroverted, and he just loves talking about the music and the creative process and so on. So yeah, check that out. But I've also included the link of an early performance of the song, okay, rather than just the conventional studio version. But this is performed back in 1969 at Carnegie Hall. And of course, Art Garfunkel is lending his ethereal vocals to the song. Paul doesn't sing on it this time. Sometimes they'll sing together. They'll play it live and they'll both sing on the song. But in this particular case, it's just, again, it's like kind of like the studio album, the studio release. So it's just it's just Art singing on the song. And the point is that they're singing now to an audience. They're introducing it as a new song or off their new album, which hadn't yet been released. And so can you imagine being in the audience and hearing Bridge Over Troubled Water for the first time? Live. You never heard it before. And so they hadn't heard it before, because when he says, oh, this is our new song, Bridge Over Troubled Water, it's dead silence. Normally, of course, people start cheering, et cetera, but it's dead silence. Oh, what is this? And then they play the song, Art sings it beautifully. It's a wonderful rendition, so pure, so pristine, shall we say. And then you can tell at the end, because there's just this crescendo of applause. The audience realizes they've just witnessed something special. Okay, so yeah, they're just blown away. So what a moment. So I've included that version in the description below, the first time played before, in Carnegie Hall. There's so many other great tunes, obviously, so many other artists I could have included, but this will have to do for now, okay? So I listen to music for many reasons, but when I need some peace of mind, some comfort, some solace, or even, shall we say, something uplifting, these are some of the songs then that I turn to, among others, and there's so many more. So feel free to, if you're inclined, to leave some other examples of your faves in the comments below. And until next time, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance. And I hope to see you tomorrow.